wanted to make this video because some people have encouraged me to, so if you're one of those people, thank you. I think for a long time, role-playing games have been under the radar in terms of all of the assistance and help that they provide to the people that play them. Today, I want to talk about why I feel like it really shouldn't be something that we hide. Role-playing games are beneficial to those that play them, and they've been helpful to me over the last 30 years that I've been playing. Well, almost 30 years. 30 years in 2022. Wow, I'm old. Let's get started. Hi everybody, my name's Joe, and welcome to Tabletop Theory, where we talk about things like role-playing games, educational theory, and counseling theory, and how all of those things wrapped up together can make you a really good storyteller. If you like talking about things like this, or you want to learn more, consider subscribing or hitting the like button if you end up liking this video. Today, I wanted to talk about my experience in role-playing games. Now, this isn't something that I'm really comfortable with. In counseling parlance, this would be considered self-disclosure. I'm not comfortable usually talking about my own experiences because I feel like my experiences don't really have any kind of referenceable insight for people other than myself. But I know that it can be helpful for other people to hear about my experiences in role-playing games and over my life that I've been playing them. So here goes. So I've been playing for almost 30 years. I started back in 1992, and that makes it 28 years right now. I started out in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and then I ended up getting involved in Vampire the Masquerade. Between Vampire the Masquerade and AD&D, I got involved in Shadowrun 2nd edition and enjoyed the heck out of that. The cyberpunk stuff is just completely worth it. If you really like cyberpunk, go read Neuromancer. Anyway, getting off track, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension, all of those wonderful source materials that White Wolf Publishing put out around the turn of the millennium. Those were some of the best role-playing books that I ever got the opportunity to play with my friends. Then I left public high school to go pursue a semi-professional musician career, toured around the world, sang for some important people. Yes, I was a singer. No, I won't sing. In that time, what I found is that doing all of that touring and rehearsal and all of that kind of high-pressure stuff, role-playing games are really helpful to me. All of the people involved in the touring with me, all of my people that were about my age, all my fellow performers, we really needed a way to blow off steam after lots of rehearsals and things like that. And since we were all opera singers, yes, I was an opera singer, we all had a little bit of training in terms of acting. So that's what we used. And we ended up playing a system called Brave New World for a while, which if you can find it, it's actually a ton of fun. And then from there, moving on to systems like Aberrant, and then Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, eventually to Exalted, which is one of my very favorite systems, which I completely, absolutely encourage the hell out of anybody to actually go play. After all of that, I continued to play. Gosh, in college, I played Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition, 4th edition, Vampire the Masquerade some more, and then graduating from college, moved into some really wonderful lesser-known games like Battlestar Galactica and Firefly, and then some homebrew games that were basically espionage games, similar to something like Spycraft. I moved across the country, and then I started getting involved in Pathfinder, and then 3.5 again, and then started playing 5th edition a few years ago. There are a lot of different systems that I've played, and sure, maybe I'll put them right here so you can just keep track. It's not for bragging rights, it's just to let you know what my background is. Out of all of those systems, I think that they all have a lot of things in common. To me, the thing that they have in common the most is that it doesn't matter what the source material is. They all helped me and my friends the same way. It helped us feel like we had more connection with each other. That kind of led me to the whole reason that I wanted to create this channel. So Tabletop Theory, at its core, is basically trying to help people become better storytellers using some of the tenets of mental health counseling and educational theory. There's different types of mental health counseling, and there's different types of educational theory that apply to role-playing games. I want to be clear, I'm not trying to teach anybody to become a counselor. That's not what this is, nor is that the ethical or responsible thing to do. If you want to go become a mental health professional, that is what grad school is for. What Tabletop Theory and what my idea is about is trying to help people understand their own mental health needs and capabilities in the context of role-playing games. Because my experience with role-playing games has been very, very good. When I was younger, role-playing games helped connect me with friends that helped me get over the bullying I was experiencing. literacy. It helped me to have common ground whenever I moved to a new school and moved to a new place, or when I was on tour and I met new people. Looking at how tabletop theory can be really helpful to people, I feel like it breaks down into 4 parts, essentially: goals, confidence, empathy, and community. Connection is something that I feel like is assumed that we all have. Society drums into us that we need to have it if you're a member of a team, when you play sports, if you're a member of a political party, if you're a member of a religious organization. All of those different things are parts and types of community, but what if you don't play sports, or you're not religious, or you haven't gone to college, or you don't necessarily have friends that want to do anything but maybe engage in some really risky behavior and you're not into that? How do you get your community? For me, and for a lot of the people I know, role-playing games were the answer. That's how you get your community. That's how you get your connection. Because it's so essential to find peers and people that are like-minded in certain things that can help you learn about who you are, but are also not so similar that they don't push you to grow as a person. And that's what I love about role-playing games. They pushed me to grow and to understand other people's points of view, because it doesn't matter what system you're playing, if it's Vampire, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, whatever, they're all going to be an experience that puts you outside of yourself. Getting outside of your own experience by actually playing a character, it's important, I think, because it really creates something that I think is also vital to human connection, and that's empathy. Sympathy is when you express remorse and pity for somebody's situation. Empathy is when you try to put yourself in somebody else's situation so that you can try to feel what they're going through. English majors, feel free to correct me in the comments. I think that it's important to express sympathy if you feel bad for somebody and you have no idea what they're going through. It can be hard to put yourself in their shoes. But generally speaking, to try to get inside of somebody's experience, it's important, because I feel like empathy is something that can really help people grow whenever they're dealing with tough times. And role-playing games, it's really hard to play them and not get a better sense of empathy. Because if you're essentially looking at what role-playing games are, you're putting yourself in someone else's shoes. I didn't necessarily see how that type of experience could be very helpful until I got into graduate school. I started to learn about the importance of empathy. I had literal training on why it matters. Other people who played role-playing games well in the past, in my past, that I knew back from when I was a teenager, they got it. They understood what empathy was about. But it took me a while to try to figure it out. You know, you have kind of an inherent understanding of it, but as, you know, a human. But gradually, as you grow older, empathy in role-playing games really started to click with me. You're playing a character who is not yourself. Different goals, different aspirations, different skills, different abilities. You're putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. That amount of empathy is so uncommon in everyday life because you don't get a chance to actually step into the role of another human being. In role-playing games, you do. Role-playing games helped me feel like I had confidence in myself and my abilities because I knew these systems backwards and forwards, and I had people coming to me to ask, how do I build a samurai in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons? How do I play a toreador properly in Vampire the Masquerade? How do I actually play a hero who's on the run in a system like Aberrant? And over the years, I started to become more confident in my abilities to answer those questions. Confidence is another thing that role-playing games can help to develop because it requires the mastery of certain subjects. You need to be able to read, you need to be able to do math, you need to be able to remember specific facts. All of those things that I just listed are generally really good at having if you actually want to be successful in any kind of education. But if you know how to read, you know how to do math, you know how to memorize facts, you can also become a really successful role player. So you see where the convergence of role-playing games and education really happen, it's at those basic levels and fundamental understandings of the education. So regardless of whether or not role-playing games in and of themselves are an academic discipline, the confidence that having that knowledge builds inside of a player or a storyteller is really vital to helping people feel like they have the capability to accomplish goals outside of role-playing games. At least that was the case for me. Finally, goals. Goals are really important. Goals for your characters, goals for your group, goals for just the story in general. And if you feel like you have trouble coming up with goals in your own life, getting used to the experience of understanding what the goals of another person might be or the goals of a party might be can help you start to become familiar with that feeling inside of yourself. As we age and as we start to become more experienced human beings, our goals change, but maybe we're not really great at writing them down or really understanding what they are, or maybe understanding the goals of other people that you might be working with. Goal setting, I feel like, is something that we as humans are really good at wanting to do, but not super great at actually doing. People involved in role-playing games start to understand the goals not only of their own characters that they've created, but also they start to understand the goals of their other party members, as well as the goals of their group in general. Having people start to wrap their minds around what goals exist inside of their own games can help them to try to take those strategies for goal setting out into the real world and really become familiar with the types of goals that they want to set for themselves as they get outside and start to live their own life. I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what's the point? Why are you doing this? Isn't it just something that should be fun? Isn't it something that doesn't need to be analyzed? Isn't it something that really just should be left alone? And yeah, sure, you could leave it alone, but I think that digging deeper into understanding why these games work and why they matter for so many people is really important, because as time goes by, if we don't try to understand how things work, then we may end up losing them. Not because I think people are gonna be like, oh, well, I forgot how to play Dungeons and Dragons. No. What I mean is, we're not going to be able to fully appreciate and get the most out of what we're trying to do with these hobbies. Everybody gets something different out of the game. Those four things, confidence, goals, community, and empathy, they're what I get the most. But they're not the only things that people can get. Everybody's goals and experiences inside the games are going to be different every single time. Understanding that those differences are what make role-playing games and good storytelling experiences so important is vital. Role-playing games are at a really, really good point right now. People love them now more than ever. More people are playing them, more people want to play them, and that is a good place to be. There are more people who want to engage in the type of fantasy, collaborative storytelling process that role-playing games provide, and whether that's because people feel more stressed now than ever, or whether that's because people feel more creative now than ever, I think that engaging in these types of games and understanding how to play them and trying to get the most out of them using things like educational and counseling theory really just benefits everybody involved. Taking the time to play a role-playing game and get out of your own experience outside of just having its general ability to reduce stress and anxiety because you're just having fun, it really helps to develop you, I feel like, as a person who is capable of understanding other people's points of view, being able to wrap your head around maybe other people's goals as well as your own goals, and trying to build some confidence in your abilities to tell stories, comprehend knowledge, and express that knowledge to other people, as well as developing a group of close friends and allies and confidants that lasts a lifetime. So that's all I've got today. Thanks for listening. Yeah, this was a bit of a rant. I know it was weird, but I really want to know, why are role-playing games important to you? Why do you think that they matter? Because to me, it's everything I just said, but I'm sure I'm gonna think of some things later and be like, damn, why didn't I say that? But I didn't. I'm glad that you all are here, and I know that right now these videos aren't super popular, but that's okay. I don't really care how many people watch them, just as long as the people that do watch them get something out of them. So thank you for being here, and thank you for playing games, and thank you for believing that games can make a difference in people's lives. So when this video is coming back out, school's been in session for quite a while, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And more than that, there's probably a lot of Zoom calls happening where people are basically just sitting at their desks and watching videos, maybe just like this one. I want to point something out. Human connection is important. Human connection is essential, but it's really hard to get right now, and that sucks. But I believe that there is hope. Human beings are nothing if not incredibly resilient and incredibly creative. Role-playing games are a testament to that. Right now, it might feel like there's no way that anything's gonna go back to normal, or that there's no way that in-person classes will ever happen, or that there may not be a time where you're ever gonna be able to see your friends like you used to before COVID-19. It's going to be okay. that's what's going to happen. Because human beings, even though we have a really great capacity to be mean to each other, I believe that we have an even greater capacity to be kind to each other. And I know that the people watching this and that other people out there have that same capability. And that's all we can really ask for, just to try to make the world a little bit better than we found it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, be kind, and have fun adventuring.